Celebration, celebrate, celebrate.
I forgot that I had an overlay. Hello, everybody. It's good to see you. It is time for another Alpha Beta Talk brought to you by Alpha Collective. Now, for those of you that are new here, Alpha Collective is a Web3 business focused on the business of Web3. Our vision is to usher in the era of community capitalism. Our mission is to help onboard the next billion wallets. These days, I'll take the next 10 wallets via the next billion brand dollars. In season 1, we will roll out IRL events, monthly vertical masterminds, weekday virtual coffees in our collective cafe, and our flagship product, 52 Alpha Talks delivered by 52 Alpha Talk speakers, 26 male, 26 female, or those who identify as such. But to get the ball rolling, we are so proud to share 13 additional rock stars who will deliver 13 Alpha Beta Talks over the next 15 weeks. They're free for now. No, they're free as part of a preview period, but from Labor Day, they will be for members only. You can purchase your membership pass via credit card at alphacollective.xyz, or while stocks last via crypto at mint.alphacollective.xyz. And before I introduce our amazing speaker, Dr. Francine Hardaway, and we are going to address the elephant in the room, and by elephant I mean the Yoda in the room, as to why I decided to give her Yoda ears, and she took it like I knew she would, which is the only way, which is amazingly, because she's a great sport, and she really is the Yoda of our space. What I wanted to do before I introduce her is actually just show you a little clip from one of our previous Alpha Beta Talks. I believe this one is Shira Lazar.
It's not just because it's a trend. It's not because things are being just necessarily destigmatized. This is real. We are in a mental health crisis. COVID definitely exacerbated it, but it was already there. A 2021 study showed that 1 in every 3 Americans reported serious loneliness. That's crazy in a world where aren't we so connected, but are we? More than 15 million Americans struggle with mental illness. 1 in 5 young people, 13 to 18, will develop mental illness in their lifetime. Youth depression has risen. There was a crazy stat of young girls, 11 to 14, highest rates of suicide, directly correlated to definitely social media. And, you know, this has been shown in research, the relationship, not just for young people and teens because of their brains being malleable, not fully developed, but even adults. It's linked our social media usage to poor sleep, depression, anxiety. And guess what? Web3 doesn't make it any better. As tech is more integrated into our lives, I don't know if it's going to get better or worse, but we see that unstable markets, changes of jobs with Web3 and AI, 24/7 activity, marketing, and volatility all creates even, I would say, more of what we've seen in the past. And it's led us, me and my company, to talking a lot about FOMO, which is kind of this modern day anxiety, the fear of missing out. And that inspired us to do a project.
Well, you're going to have to view the entire talk to find out exactly what she's talking about. But here, it's a leg up, it's a softball to tell you a little bit about Dr. Francine Hardaway, 3 times entrepreneur. She exited to Intel, and then she was expelled from Intel by boredom into Stealth Mode Partners, an accelerator and consultancy She also ran the Arizona Entrepreneurship Conferences for 8 years, raising money for opportunity through Entrepreneurship Foundation. She started that in 2005. It is still ongoing. She's dabbled in crypto, in Web3, in AI. She's more than dabbled in writing. She's an amazing writer, and she is the Yoda of our space. Francine, it is good to see you, my friend. The crowd rises to their feet. How are you?
I'm great, Joseph. How are you?
I'm fine. I don't know whether you complimented me or insulted me earlier by saying that I'm the last person left in Web3. But I was wondering where everyone was. So
yeah, exactly. They've gone on to AI, honey. It's like a bar.
Well, they did, and
bars
then
have times when they're famous, and then the crowd moves on.
And then they jumped from AI bar to now Threads bar. So they continue to jump. They're like little frogs, which is better than being the boiling frog, I suppose. But enough about them. Francine, let's focus on you. I am going to disappear for now and let you take it away with your presentation. And then when you're done, I will be back and we'll have a little conversation. So without further ado, Francine Hardaway.
Oh, hi, everybody. Good to see you. I mean, I can't see you, but good that you can see me. I've never been a normie. I dabbled in Bitcoin since 2013. I got interested in something called the Rally Network, which is where I re-met Joseph, who I had known very many years ago in a complete other incarnation. I was lured in during the pandemic by boredom, and I begged Rally to give me a social token before I even knew what they were for. And that's kind of what I do. I'm an early adopter, and people were getting something, and they were getting social tokens. And I thought to myself, I need a social token. But it turns out that I didn't need a social token because I didn't have the kind of community that responds to one. Yes, Web3 is community capitalism. I love that Joseph says that because the community part was always there and probably still is there. The capitalism part, though, turned out to be very difficult because most of us who jumped in learned about the scamming in crypto by being there. We got hard experience. And I actually came very close to burning my own community with my social token, which was called the Karma Coin. So you can imagine how attached to it I was, and how much I identified it with, my actual physical identity as a person who is authentic and honest. And then the government, I'm going to blame it on the government. We can blame it on the government, right? Gary Gensler and the government were fighting each other on who should regulate crypto. And in the meantime, nobody did. And in the meantime, a bunch of scammers came on, and a lot of people lost a lot of money. But that's all in the past. The thing that I really loved was that I made a lot of friends. Not only did I meet Joe, but I met Brett Kinsella, Evan Kirstel, John Ketzier, Mitch Joel, Jeremiah Ouyang led us all into it, and he carefully led us all out. Fortunately, the close call of nearly burning my community didn't stop me from trying ChatGPT when it first emerged into the wild. You would think I would have had enough of being burned by early adoption, telling people that they were probably going to make some money in my Karma Coin and having, them lose everything and the Rally Network go out of business and a whole bunch of stuff. But both Web3 and AI have still the promise to change our digital lives. The difference is that Web3 inspired FOMO. You know, we all, because it was this conscious capitalism, it seemed as though we had to be part of it. It seemed like it was so good. It came along with the brand new creator economy and a collaborative ethic. If you remember, DAOs were going to decentralize ownership and give everyone an equal chance to get rich. Creators would finally be paid for their art, music, and writing. Everybody rushed to sign up. It was difficult to learn the language of blockchain and crypto, but we did it. What the creators didn't understand, and that's me too, was that underneath the heady spirits of the artists, they were just fodder used for their creations. There were a bunch of other people who didn't care about the creations, but only about the money they could cream off the top of the economy, while the artists were still trying to figure out rarities and blew away hours and weeks trying to grow communities. And most of the money that came in, and there was a lot of money, was mostly invested in blockchain technology. The magic word was provenance. Blockchain would make us more certain that we had bought the original digital art and that we actually owned it. But, you know, we really didn't. The air slowly leaked out of a blockchain balloon as an oversupply of useless NFTs made a limited collector market, the same limited collector market that had always existed for art. And at the same time as the market collapsed, the government woke up and decided they were going to regulate and come down on the scammers. People lost millions. Not me. I didn't have millions to lose. But that is still going on today. So we had maybe a year of respite from hype, and then along came AI, blindsiding us while we were still licking our wounds from Web3. Which is not to say that AI can't contribute to a resurgence of the creator economy. So in these next few slides, I'm going to show you, courtesy of AI, that it can help Web3. It doesn't necessarily have to upset Web3 or not relate to Web3. So there, I'll point out some of the good things, and you know, you can draw your own conclusion, because people have much more where AI inspired, where Web3, inspired FOMO. AI inspired only fear, and both of them are wrong. They're both totally wrong. I mean, there's a little bit of, there should have been anyway, a little bit of fear in Web3, and there should be a little more FOMO in AI, because AI can help creators produce content more efficiently, and then algorithms can better match creators' content with users who are likely to appreciate and support it. And by the way, I didn't make these up. I did this whole presentation with AI, with ChatGPT in about 5 minutes, because AI already knows all this stuff. So AI can also help creators identify monetization strategies, and it can enable a more personalized experience for the supporters of creators. It can help creators engage with their fans more effectively, and you can automate routine tasks with it, giving creators more time to focus on their core creative work. Now, this is tricky because it just depends on, you know, what business you're in. Me, I'm a writer. So I hate writing headlines because I know they're very necessary because they're the marketing part of what I write. But although I spend hours making an article, I don't really have the knack for headlines. Most of my ideas are bad. So here's where Chat GPT is useful, because what you do is you don't use what the bot gives you, but you make changes, and it might help you notice how your writing comes across and give you ideas about how to change it. And you can use the service to edit your copy. I write all my first drafts in AI right now. And then I ask ChatGPT to clean up the writing or point out any mistakes. Also, ChatGPT is good with coming up with fake names if you're writing fiction. If you're writing a novel and you want somebody, to make up the names of the characters, ChatGPT will help you do it. And it's also good for software. You can get a full fake name list of things to put into a list. Okay, you can also look up specific things to do with your computer. Like, there's a keyboard shortcut for moving things around, but you don't know what it is. ChatGPT can tell you. And the same thing with spreadsheet software. In fact, I don't know how to use spreadsheets, but ChatGPT uses them for me. And then on this next slide, there's information about coding, but I don't write code. So ChatGPT assured me that this is useful, but none of this is going to be useful if you don't write code. And that's the problem with AI. You can clean things up with it, but you can't accept it. Okay, so we're good. We've got a lot of help working with ChatGPT. I don't know how I feel about AI still in the final analysis. What I think is that eventually it's going to be as useful as the people who are on the chat bandwagon think it is going to be. I think eventually it'll get there. Is it there now? No, because, for instance, one thing I do is I look up a lot of things that are pretty current, like, for instance, a lot of medical information. And right now, the chatbots that exist, at least the ones that I have access to, quit being trained in 2021. So if you're in AI and you're trying to get information, for instance, on a clinical trial or something that's relatively new in medicine, you can't get it right now. It's not, oh, look, I just changed on the screen. Anyway, you can't get it. So it has to we have to wait until we can get current AI, and then it'll be much more useful. But do I think we should investigate it and jump on board? Yes, it's definitely worth trying. It's definitely worth subscribing to for at least a few months and finding out how it works. And it doesn't promise to make you money. But on the other hand, as a lot of the fearmongers have said, it doesn't take away your job either. It's really neither. It's just another tool, It's like a thesaurus or a dictionary or an encyclopedia or a Wikipedia or anything you think you might need. AI can pretty much generate that for you. and it enhances us. It does not take away from us, and it doesn't make us fear. Now, is it part of community capitalism? It can be. I don't know. It depends on, Joseph, what you mean by community capitalism. But I believe that we need to keep learning. As we go through our lives, we need to keep learning, especially since technology changes so quickly. And if we do need to keep learning, even if you got burned by Web3, you should try to learn this. And as Joseph says, the bar crowd has moved on to the next new thing, which is Threads. Threads doesn't take any learning. Threads is like its own thing, and you don't have to learn anything. But I would learn AI, because AI has the potential to be useful. Web3, I think there are people who are still building tools for Web3 that will make it useful someday. But until we get Web3 and blockchain and crypto and altcoins and Bitcoin and all of those things sorted out, and some of these guys that scammed us while we were trying to learn on the up and up get put in prison for a while, I'm going to stay away from Web3 myself. And most of the friends that I made through Rally and the last uptick are done, at least for now. None of us can figure out how to make money with it, and we've decided that we're on to the next event. How about you? Joseph, where are you?
I'm here. I'm busy. I'm busy thinking to myself, first of all, why did I invite her on when she's saying that she's staying away from Web3? I'm just kidding. This is what I wanted, actually.
I can't figure out how to get involved in it anymore. The first time I got involved in it, I was going to build a community and, sell it as social token and let the people who invested in the social token make money.
No, I'm just
and
kidding.
None of that worked. And so I'm like, where's my place? Maybe I can write and I can be part of Web3 with my writing, but do I even have to call that Web3?
I don't know. Well, listen, let me transition us to our fireside chat. Do you feel nice and warm right now? I've just put on the some fresh coals onto the fire. Francine,
dude, it's 104 in Phoenix outside,
yeah, well,
right now, and that's where I live.
It's pretty warm here too. Okay, Francine.
Fireside chat my butt. Okay, go ahead.
All right, a few things. First of all, there is a QR code above, and that is a QR code where you can register for next week's Alpha Beta Talk, which will be delivered by Khusro Khalid, who is Deloitte Digital's managing director of Web3 and their metaverse practice. And he's actually going to be bringing some real life use cases and examples to actually show you what big brands are actually doing and building right now, even though most people don't even realize what's going on. So
are they doing it in the metaverse or in Web3?
You're going to have to register and come and attend, Francine.
Okay.
I'm not going to let you off that easily. Francine, I'm going to ask you a first question, which is your coin, which was not unintentional, was called the Karma coin.
Right.
And at the end of the day, I've done a bit of research myself on what karma is and what karma isn't. But let's just go with the oversimplified version, the version that says what you do, you get back. If you're good and kind and paid forward, it's going to come back to you. And if you're a meanie and a scammer, it's going to come back to bite you.
And that's why when I found myself entangled with all the stuff going on in Web3, I was so upset because I wanted to, and always do want to, enlarge the notion of karma in the world, because that is the way that I live. And that is the way I want to teach other people to live, because it does work. It's not woo-woo. There's, first of all, 5,000 years of Buddhism behind it, but you generate what happens to you by what you put out there in the universe. And so if you put out generosity, you'll get that back. And if you put out thievery, you'll get that back. And so when I named my coin the Karma coin, I didn't realize all this stuff was going to go on in Web3.
I don't think any of us did.
Well, of course not. None of us would have participated. We were participating to have fun, meet each other, and maybe make a small amount of money. But the money wasn't the issue, really. It was the learning.
Well, it's interesting. It's interesting because even if you break the word community capitalism, community is friendships, new friendships, old friendships, and capitalism is monetization. And maybe one might argue, just like the word social media, right? Social is you and I having a glass of wine together in Arizona, or at when we met in Phoenix, I guess it was Phoenix, for CEX last year. Media comes from the word medium, neither rare nor well done, which is the snake oil and the ability to interrupt people and sell stuff to people. So if oil and water don't mix, social and media, could we argue, and I hope this isn't the case, that community and capitalism don't mix either?
I don't think so. I mean, I have lived my I have lived my whole life believing that community and capitalism mix, because I am, as we say in social media now, still a lib or a libtard or whatever
Me too.
They're called now. And yet I've owned 3 businesses. I have made money, and I haven't violated my principles. So I think that they really are. They really do or can go together. And that's how I live my life. And I want them to go together. That's why if somebody asks me for something, I am way more likely to say yes than I am likely to say no.
It's almost like you were peering over my shoulder because I just wrote about it this very morning in my new book, and for my new book, talking, by the way, about my rally coin, about the Jaffe coin, and how I said yes. And by the way, I've renamed your bio now to Francine Hardaway, a PhD co-founder of Stealth Mode Partners. So this is what happens when you have the budget that we have at Alpha Collective. Francine, you mentioned something very important, and I'm going to build on it because you spoke about this idea of being burnt by early adoption. I almost feel like this is the price of entry. This is the price we pay sometimes for being early or too early, but we don't. But we don't. Here's the thing: we don't do a good job of managing expectations in the broader ecosystem, whether it's the brands that come in and get burnt and then they run away with their tail between their legs, or our holders. Maybe that's what's missing when we think about the new is to say, buyer beware, put the warning label on and say, these are, Apple comes out with a new iOS and says, beware, things could go horribly wrong. This is only for the risk inclined. Maybe that's the missing link.
Well, that's right, because I am the person who puts up the beta test of the new operating system and it crashes and I have to, uninstall it and go back and then reinstall it. Yeah, and I understand that. I really do. I have been paying the early adopter tax all my life. And I am happy. I'm knowledgeable and I'm happy to do it. I don't want to stop people who are risk tolerant from doing things. I am very risk tolerant, and I'm still doing things. I, for instance, am still making startup investments, and we switched to the fireplace.
We're back in the fireplace. Or we could go back into Discord, whatever you want.
No,
All right, back in the fireplace we go.
back into the fireplace.
From the frying pan into the fire. How about that?
Okay, do you have a frying pan that we
No, but we have Threads right now, which has replaced AI, which seems to have replaced Web3. Is there a danger, Francine, with respect to this idea of always trying to, because you have I like this, the concept of the early adopter tax and being burnt by early adoption. But
I paid $1,500 for Google Glass.
So did I. But there's a third part, Francine.
And I wore it in public.
Huh? I did not. But Francine, what about the people that are trying desperately to, to not sink, to get their head above the water, to get that early move advantage? We all look back and say, if only we had bought Bitcoin. What are the dangers, for example, even with Threads right now? What are the dangers with respect to, and I'll give you the context for it. You'll see an ad on TV and it will say professional driver closed course, right? In other words, do not attempt this at home. What's the message to people that constantly are trying to get in early on the next altcoin, the next shitcoin, the next social media platform, kind of go all in and get burnt again and again and again? What's the advice you would give them?
Well, it's the same advice that I gave myself when I first found out there was a thing called Bitcoin, because that was in 2013. And I didn't even know how much Bitcoin was, but I thought to myself, I'll put $100 into this. If I lose it all, screw it, and if I don't, who knows what'll happen. And my story, that I put $100 into it and I forgot about it. And 3 years later, I was buying a house and I needed extra money for decoration and furnishing and stuff like that. And I looked in my Bitcoin wallet and I had $53,000 in there. That $100 had grown to $53,000. And I was like, oh boy, look at this. So fortunately, I took it all out and used it on my house. And I've never made that kind of money investing in crypto again. Never. It was just, I was there. It was luck. But I did learn about how Bitcoin moves. And I learned a lot about cryptocurrency. And I learned a lot about how there is no guarantee. But
so
I'm willing to pay the price. What I wanted out of life, and you can tell this by the fact that I expelled myself from Intel. I want and wanted from my life adventure. That was what I wanted. I did not want to lead an ordinary life. And so if you want to lead an adventurous life, you have to take some chances. You don't just sit in your kitchen waiting for it to come to you.
I like that idea of the adventure. I'm gonna basically connect the dots, because I think you gave two pieces of advice that work really well together. Number one, whatever you spend, whatever you invest, whether it's time, effort, energy, money, when you are an early adopter, when you are early, when you seek the adventure, A, you need to be prepared to lose it all. And B, and here's the important part, set it and forget it. The short-term gain leads to long-term pain, whereas the opposite, which is if you actually invest in the long run, for the long haul, play the long game, that's when you see these amazing results. It's planting the oak tree, right, Francine? You plant, you don't, I always say the seeds of innovation are not magic beans.
They're not. And the thing that always amazes me, and it's really, it's changing now. When I first started, fooling around with technology, like when I bought the Apple II, in 1980 when I went into business, and I bought the Apple II and the cell phone that's stuck in the console of your car. And, it's a whole bunch of things that I bought for my business because I wanted to make myself available. I didn't realize how long it would take for all these things to really catch on. I was like the first person that wasn't a doctor. I mean, I am a doctor, but I'm not the kind of doctor that they allowed to access cell phones early. The medical doctors in my community were getting them. And I just said, I'm Dr. Hardaway, and I put up my money. And I paid $3,500 for my first, when I tell you paying the early adopter tax, $3,500 for my first car phone.
You mean it literally, you paid the tax?
Yeah, 30 some odd $500 for my first computer, the Apple IIe or whatever it was. And, I paid a total bunch of money. And then what I learned along the way is that the prices always come down in time. And now we all know that, because TVs do that. And they're a consumer product. So consumers now know that if you want a, 76-inch, I don't even know what's in TVs because I don't watch it. But, all of these things that you want, if you wait a while, they'll come down, because once they get adopted into the mainstream, they get economies of scale. But if what you want to be is A, adventures, and B, as I moved along, I realized that there's a spot for adventurous people, and it's called thought leadership, and it's where you are, and it's where I've always been. And thought leaders have to be early, and then they have to take the chance that somebody follows them. Because it's nice to be a thought leader, but if there aren't people who follow you, it doesn't make much difference.
I love the anecdote, and I also had an Apple IIe, and I love the anecdote.
Of course you did, because it's the same people, and a rally coin and Web3.
Well, I was thinking, just as we wind down, Francine, I was thinking, if somebody was watching this, why do it then? Why spend the $3,500? Why take the risk? Why make the move? And I think you answered it, which is, it's for the people that seek adventure. It's for the people that want to be bold, that don't want to just be fed, that want to sit on the sidelines. They want to be part of the pioneering class.
It's in alignment with my values. You have to think to yourself as you go through life, what are my values and how close am I to living in alignment with my values? Yeah. And all this stuff, to me, even if I lose money, even if I pay more than I need to, even if, nobody adopts what I adopt, I'm living in alignment with my values, because two of my values are, freedom and adventure. So I think that, and I'm looking back on it and saying this to you. I'm not saying that I always knew this all the way along, but on the way here to where I am now, I really was just sort of bumbling from step to step, or like rock to rock, in the stream, trying not to fall into the water. So, and then when you get to the other side and you're like, oh, I sold my business to Intel. Shit, I must have been successful. Did I think I was successful while I was in business? No chance. You can ask my kids. All I kept saying to them is, this year we might have to go bankrupt. And then a year goes on. Well, we didn't have to do that this year, but this year we might have to do it. And, that happened every year for 20 years. And then Intel, came knocking and they acquired us. And I was like, oh my God, I'm done with this business. And we never went bankrupt. By the way, my older daughter still thinks she didn't realize we didn't, because I said it so many times that she always thought, oh, we went bankrupt once, but we didn't.
I love hearing your stories, and looking back to ultimately move forward. It's a great story. It is a great story, and I think as you were talking, and I'm in my mind the whole time, especially as far as Alpha Collective is concerned, is if we want to bring in the next billion brand dollars, perhaps one way, and I'm always trying to extract that from guests, is the fact that when you have a brand whose values are innovation, adventure, progressiveness, risk, this is the place to be the pioneer,
Right.
to pay the tax, the early adopter tax.
And
What
that's
better?
your market. And, those are the people you should reach out to, because those are the people who are going to come in, because they're going to go on the trip on the journey with you.
I'm telling you, I feel like an adventurer having spent time with you today. Dr. Francine Libtard Hardaway, co-founder of Stealth Mode Partners. If you want to stay in contact with Francine, you can do that on Twitter. You can do that on Instagram. You definitely can do that through LinkedIn, in Discord. Please subscribe to her Substack, Living the Dream. It is a dream to be a pioneer and an adventurer. You can even weave into her thread that sounds obscene at hardaway@threads.net. Another tax, no doubt, that will be paid. And I'm sure some people will benefit and others will get burnt. It is the nature of the beast. And finally, if you do want to register for next week's Alpha Beta Talk with Deloitte Digital's Khusro Khalid, you can do that at bit.ly/alpha beta Khusro Khalid. It's like, I didn't even get ChatGPT to create that little short link or that QR code that you saw above me over there. Francine, as always, my friend, it's an absolute pleasure.
And I made PowerPoints for you. I never
know.
make them. I hate them.
Well, I don't think you made them. I think AI made them.
Well, I know, but I mean, I showed up with a deck. It's like,
I know.
The first time anyone's ever said to me, upload your deck. And I've been able to do that because I was born before PowerPoint.
And on that note, Francine, stay in contact. It's been too long. We make friends in Web3. We over-deliver on the community. And if we do that well, hopefully the capitalism will follow.
Exactly.
Thank you for coming in. And back to you.